You live inside a mind you built yourself, a room of thoughts constructed not from bricks, but from concepts, memories, fears, expectations, beliefs, and interpretations. What you call reality is in truth a reflection of your thinking, a mirror of your internal dialogue projected onto the chaos of the outer world. You do not see the world as it is. You see it as you think it is. The more you think, the thicker the veil between you and what truly is. Thoughts do not merely describe reality, they create it. Consciousness structures raw information like a sculptor chiseling meaning from the marble of uncertainty. You believe you are a passive observer, but you are the architect. Every time you label something as good or bad, dangerous or desirable, possible or hopeless, you inscribe it into the blueprint of your personal universe. The words you use to think become the walls of your perceptual cage. Language generates categories. Categories sculpt perception, and perception defines your experience of reality. That which your mind cannot conceptualize becomes invisible to your senses. If you lack the concept of freedom in your thoughts, you will not recognize it even when it stands in front of you. Reality is not what happens, it is what you interpret. Two people placed in the exact same situation live entirely different experiences. One feels fear, the other sees opportunity. One perceives collapse, the other transformation. What changed? Nothing but their thinking. The mind, like a filter, colors every signal it receives. Thinking is not a mirror reflecting truth. It is a lens distorting everything according to inner scripts. Everything you think about yourself eventually becomes true, not because it was destined, but because your thoughts shape your actions, and actions shape your world. If you think you are a victim, you will find oppression. If you think you are powerful, strength will awaken in you. If you think the world is hostile, it will respond in kind. Your belief in a particular version of yourself activates a chain of realities in which that version dominates your choices. Even your body obeys your thinking. Stress, placebo, suggestion, and imagination reveal how thin the boundary is between thought and matter. You program your neural architecture with your focus. What you think about repeatedly becomes the dominant route in your brain. In this way, a neuroplastic reality is formed. The more you think in a specific pattern, the more real that pattern becomes. But herein lies the trap. If your thinking is limited, your reality becomes a prison. The illusion is that you believe you are experiencing an objective world, when in fact you are reliving the echo of your mental habits. Every judgment you make shapes the landscape in which you walk. Every assumption you carry becomes a shadow that follows you, even when you forget it's there. You are surrounded not by things, but by meanings, and those meanings are planted by your thoughts. You do not fear the future. You fear the image your mind created about the future. You do not suffer the past. You suffer the interpretation that still loops inside your thoughts. You are not shaped by events. You are shaped by your thinking about events. Thought is the ultimate storyteller, and you're both its author and its victim. Your inner dialogue, often unnoticed, is a quiet sculptor of your nervous system, your posture, your expectations, and your emotional chemistry. You think in patterns, and patterns become personality. A person who thinks in threats lives in anxiety. A person who thinks in possibilities breathes potential. Thought is recursive. It feeds itself. It builds momentum. It repeats until it becomes invisible and automatic, and then it becomes you. But what is thinking? It is a simulation, a rehearsal of reality, a private theater of symbols and meanings. Yet you treat these rehearsals as real. You respond to inner movies as if they were external events. This confusion is the source of most suffering. When you mistake thought for fact, emotion for truth, or fear for prophecy, you chain yourself to illusions born entirely in the mind. Your brain does not distinguish between imagined experience and actual experience. Neurons fire the same way. This is why thinking fearful thoughts makes your heart race. Why visualizing success can improve performance. Why imagining pain can produce real distress. You are a magician of self-illusion, casting mental spells that shape how the world appears. You see what you expect, because the brain is a prediction machine, filtering reality through the lens of past thoughts. This means your mind is constantly creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Think you're not enough, and your brain will highlight evidence to confirm it. Think you are evolving, and you will notice every sign of growth. This is not mysticism, it is neurology. The reticular activating system in your brain decides what to notice based on what your mind deems important. And what your mind deems important is shaped by thought. Your attention follows your beliefs like a shadow. What you focus on expands. And so, when you think something over and over, you are not observing reality. You are selecting it, amplifying it, feeding it, until it becomes your truth. Most people do not think. They rehearse. They repeat inherited thoughts, absorbed from culture, family, trauma, media, and memory. Few ever question whether those thoughts are true. But a thought does not become truth through repetition. It becomes a prison. Real thinking is rare. Most thought is mechanical, reactive, automatic, unconscious. You do not control it. You identify with it. And that identification becomes the illusion of self. You think, therefore you believe you are the thinker. But what if the thoughts are not yours? What if they are echoes of others, residues of pain, traces of conditioning? You live in a loop. Thoughts create feelings. Feelings reinforce thoughts. And together they become beliefs, which become perception, which becomes your world. Break the loop, and reality opens. The mind is a sculptor of worlds, yet we rarely question its tools. Our beliefs are nothing more than thought patterns, honed over time by repetition and emotional reinforcement. These patterns are so deeply ingrained that they are accepted as facts, when in reality, they are just the mind's version of what is. What you believe to be true about yourself is not truth. It is simply what you have repeated enough times to become familiar with. When you say, "I am anxious," you're not describing an unchangeable state, but rather reinforcing a belief that defines your experience. The truth is not static. It is fluid and shaped by perception. And perception is shaped by thought. This is the secret of cognitive reframing, the ability to shift the lens through which you view the world, and in doing so, change your reality. But reframing requires awareness, and awareness is the most elusive gift. The average person spends their life identifying with their thoughts, believing them to be the source of their identity. And this results in a constant struggle for control. The problem is not that you cannot control your thoughts. It is that you believe your thoughts control you. The thoughts you think are not an inherent part of you. They are not your essence. They are temporary constructs built by habit, culture, environment, and experience. When you begin to question the thoughts that arise, you start to see them for what they are. transient signals, patterns of electrical activity that do not define who you are. This realization shifts the relationship between you and your mind. Instead of being a prisoner of your thoughts, you become the observer, the one who watches them pass by like clouds in the sky. In that space of observation, the power to shape your reality emerges. You can begin to choose the thoughts you engage with, and in doing so, you begin to create a new reality. The stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you are capable of are not written in stone. They are malleable, subject to change, and dependent on the beliefs you hold. But first, you must recognize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. When you stop identifying with your mind, you stop being bound by it. It is in this moment of detachment that true freedom arises. You realize that the only thing that truly shapes your reality is your perspective. Your mind is a lens through which you perceive the world, but it is not the world itself. The world exists independently of your thoughts, yet your perception of it is entirely shaped by them. If you think the world is hostile, you will encounter hostility. If you think it is abundant, you will find abundance. The world does not change, but your interpretation of it does. This is the essence of the law of attraction. Not that the universe bends to your will, but that your thoughts shape the way you experience the universe. The frequency of your thoughts aligns with the frequency of your experiences. This is why positive thinking can seem to bring about positive outcomes. It tunes your perception to a frequency that aligns with the positive aspects of your environment. However, it is not simply about thinking positively. It is about thinking in alignment with your true self, with your highest potential. When your thoughts align with your deepest desires and values, you begin to move through the world with clarity and purpose. But when your thoughts are in conflict with your true nature, your experience becomes chaotic, fragmented, and disorienting. This is where the practice of mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness teaches you to become aware of your thoughts without identifying with them. It helps you to observe them without attachment, allowing them to pass through your mind without becoming entangled in them. In doing so, you reclaim your power to shape your reality. You begin to see thoughts as tools, not masters. Instead of reacting to thoughts, you respond with intentionality. You begin to consciously choose the thoughts that align with the life you wish to create. This is the path of true empowerment. As you begin to recognize the power of your thoughts, you start to understand the subtle influence they have on every aspect of your life. Thoughts are the silent architects of your emotions, decisions, and actions. Every thought, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, sends a ripple through your mind and body, shaping your experience of the world. When you dwell on negative thoughts, you invite negativity into your life. When you focus on possibilities, you open the door to opportunity. But the challenge is not simply in choosing positive thoughts. It's in choosing conscious thoughts. Most people live in a state of autopilot, reacting to life's events based on past conditioning and habitual thinking. They are trapped in a cycle of automatic responses, responding to situations without considering the impact of their thoughts. It is only when you step out of this cycle, when you become aware of the thoughts you are thinking, that you begin to break free. Awareness is the key to unlocking the power of thought. It allows you to observe the patterns that govern your mind and begin to shift them. The process of awareness is not about suppressing or controlling thoughts. It is about observing them without attachment, without judgment, and without identifying with them. In this space of observation, you can begin to recognize the thoughts that no longer serve you and replace them with those that align with your desired reality. The mind is a tool, and like any tool, it must be used consciously and with intention. When you learn to use your thoughts intentionally, you begin to create a reality that is aligned with your values, your desires, and your true self. This is the essence of living consciously, recognizing that your thoughts are not simply a reflection of the world, but a creative force that shapes the world you experience. The idea that your thoughts create your reality is not a new concept. Philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual teachers have long understood the power of the mind to shape human experience. What is often overlooked, however, is the fact that most people do not actively engage with their thoughts. They are simply carried along by them. It is only through conscious engagement with your thoughts that you can begin to take control of your life. When you start to recognize the influence of thought on your experience, you begin to see the subtle ways in which your mind shapes your reality. Your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about others, and your beliefs about the world all influence the way you perceive and interact with your environment. If you believe that the world is a dangerous place, you will approach it with caution and fear. If you believe that people are untrustworthy, you will build walls around yourself, isolating yourself from connection. If you believe that you are not worthy of success, you will unconsciously sabotage your own progress. On the other hand, if you believe that the world is abundant and full of opportunity, you will approach life with curiosity and excitement. If you believe that people are fundamentally good, you will open yourself to deeper connections. If you believe in your own potential, you will take risks, step outside your comfort zone, and create opportunities for growth. The way you think about the world is the lens through which you see it, and that lens determines the reality you experience. It is through this lens that you interpret events, judge situations, and make decisions. The more consciously you choose your thoughts, the more you align yourself with a reality that reflects your true desires and values. To understand how thinking shapes reality, one must first acknowledge that perception is not passive. Perception is an active process. Your mind is constantly filtering, interpreting, and categorizing the input it receives from the outside world. This process is influenced not just by external stimuli, but by your pre-existing thoughts, beliefs, and expectations. Every new experience is colored by the thoughts that precede it. When you approach a new situation with a particular belief, whether it's that people are kind, that success is possible, or that you are inadequate, you filter the information you receive in a way that confirms your belief. This is called confirmation bias, and it is a fundamental aspect of human cognition. Confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret and prioritize information in a way that confirms what you already believe, while disregarding or downplaying information that contradicts those beliefs. It is one of the most powerful ways your thinking shapes your reality, because it ensures that you see the world not as it is, but as you expect it to be. For example, if you believe that you are destined for failure, your mind will seek out evidence that supports this belief. You will notice setbacks, more than successes, and you'll interpret even minor challenges as proof of your inadequacy. On the other hand, if you believe that you are capable of achieving your goals, you will begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You will notice signs of progress even in the face of difficulties, and your resilience will grow. Your thoughts shape your reality, not just by influencing what you perceive, but by guiding your actions. When you think a certain way, you behave in a way that aligns with those thoughts. If you believe that you are unworthy of love, you will act in ways that push people away or prevent you from forming deep connections. If you believe that you are capable of creating success, you will take action that moves you toward your goals, even in the face of fear or uncertainty. This is why changing your thinking can be so transformative. It changes not just how you see the world, but how you interact with it. Thoughts are not just passive observations of reality, they are blueprints for action. Your mind doesn't just interpret the world, it acts on the world, shaping your experience through the decisions you make and the behaviors you adopt. But it is not enough to simply recognize the influence of thought on your actions. You must also become aware of the underlying beliefs that drive your thoughts. The core beliefs you hold about yourself and the world determine the patterns of thought you engage in. If you believe that the world is a dangerous place, you will have thoughts filled with fear, doubt, and caution. If you believe that you are capable and worthy, you will have thoughts filled with confidence, creativity, and possibility. The beliefs you hold are the foundation of your thinking, and your thinking is the foundation of your reality. Changing your reality, then, requires changing your beliefs. This is not always an easy task, because beliefs are often deeply ingrained and rooted in past experiences, cultural conditioning, and emotional wounds. But with conscious effort, it is possible to challenge and transform these beliefs. The process of changing beliefs begins with awareness. By paying attention to the thoughts that arise in your mind, you can start to identify the beliefs that underlie them. Once you become aware of these beliefs, you can begin to question their validity. Are they based on truth, or are they the result of past experiences or societal conditioning? Are they helpful, or do they limit your potential? The next step is to replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. This requires conscious effort and repetition, as the mind resists change and tends to default to familiar patterns. But with consistent practice, new beliefs can be cultivated and reinforced. The key is to focus on thoughts that align with the reality you want to create. When you begin to consciously choose empowering thoughts, you will begin to see a shift in your experience. The world may not immediately change, but your perception of it will. And as your perception shifts, your actions will begin to align with your new beliefs. This is the power of intentional thinking. It shapes not just your inner world, but the outer world as well. The process of shifting your thoughts and beliefs is not instantaneous. It is an ongoing practice, a gradual reprogramming of the mind. But this practice can have profound effects. As you begin to consciously choose your thoughts, you start to create a new reality for yourself. It is important to understand that changing your thinking does not mean ignoring the difficulties or challenges you face. It means approaching them with a mindset that is open, curious, and solution-oriented, rather than one that is fearful or resigned. When you face a challenge with the belief that you are capable of overcoming it, you are more likely to take the necessary steps to find a solution. When you face a challenge with the belief that it is insurmountable, you are more likely to become paralyzed by fear and doubt. Your mindset affects how you engage with the world, how you approach problems, and how you interpret your experiences. This is the power of perspective. Perspective is the lens through which you see the world, and it is shaped entirely by your thoughts. Change your perspective, and you change your reality. It is important to realize that your thoughts are not isolated. They are deeply connected to your emotions. The way you think about a situation determines how you feel about it. For example, if you think about a challenge as an opportunity for growth, you will likely feel motivated and excited. If you think about that same challenge as a threat, you will likely feel anxious or overwhelmed. Your emotions are a reflection of your thoughts, and your thoughts are the architects of your emotions. This is why mindfulness and emotional intelligence are so crucial. By becoming aware of the thoughts that trigger negative emotions, you can begin to disrupt the pattern. Instead of reacting automatically, you can choose to reframe your thoughts and shift your emotional response. In doing so, you break free from the cycle of reactive thinking and emotional turmoil. The more you practice this, the more you train your mind to respond consciously rather than react unconsciously. Over time, this practice becomes second nature, and you begin to experience a profound sense of peace and control over your emotions. You become less dependent on external circumstances for your sense of well-being, and more dependent on your internal state of mind. This is the essence of true freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of your thoughts and emotions. Once you realize that your thoughts shape your reality, you begin to take responsibility for the world you experience. You no longer blame external circumstances, other people, or events for your feelings or experiences. Instead, you recognize that your internal world is the source of everything you experience. This is a powerful realization because it places the power of creation firmly in your hands. The way you think, the beliefs you hold, and the stories you tell yourself are all within your control. You're the creator of your reality, not the victim of it. The power to change your life lies not in changing the world around you, but in changing the way you think about it. The external world will always be uncertain, unpredictable, and beyond your full control. But your internal world is yours to shape. When you master your thoughts, you master your reality. And this is where true empowerment lies. True empowerment does not come from controlling everything outside of you. It comes from mastering the one thing you can control, your mind. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your life. When you change your thoughts, you change your experience of the world. And when you change your experience of the world, you change the world itself. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles, solutions where others see problems, and beauty where others see chaos. Your thoughts are the lens through which you view the world, and as you shift that lens, the world around you shifts as well. This is not just a philosophical concept, it is a practical truth. It is the foundation of personal growth, success, and fulfillment. It is the key to unlocking your true potential. The reality you experience is a reflection of the thoughts you think. Change your thoughts, and you change your reality.